are putting on relevant forums that hopefully will help you, whether you're a student, industry, alumni. We are very interested in trying to put forth relevant topics. And today we have for you 4 outstanding panel members as well as an outstanding host. So today we're talking about diversity and inclusion in the hospitality industry. And I am Robin DiPietro. I'll call me the master of ceremonies. And our host today is Adonis Sporty Jeralds, who is our Assistant Dean of Diversity and Inclusion here at the College of Hospitality, Retail, and Sport Management. Our panelists that I'd like to introduce to you come from a variety of areas in the hospitality industry. Our first panelist is Passion Graham. She comes to us from Desert Mountain Country Club in Scottsdale, Arizona. She has over 24 years of experience in the hospitality industry before she ended up, or in addition to ending up then as the clubhouse manager at Desert Mountain. She formed her own company, her event management company, and that was Passion Productions in 2008. She began her career in clubs in 2014 at the Charlotte Country Club, and then went on to the Highland Country Club before landing at Desert Mountain in 2018. So welcome, Passion, to our panel. We're excited to have you here. Our next panelist is one of our own graduates. So Thomas Harrington is a graduate of our program. He's with Aimbridge Hospitality. He is a South Carolina native and got his Bachelor of Science in Hotel, Restaurant, and Tourism Management. I guess it was tourism administration back then. He's been working in the hospitality industry for over 20 years, working in Washington, D.C., Atlanta for Marriott and Starwood. And currently he's the corporate regional director, sales and marketing for Aimbridge Hospitality. JaRonna Singleton is with us. She's also a graduate of our HRTM program. She's with Westin Hotels, and she was born and raised in North Charleston, and came to us from Johnson & Wales. She got her associate's degree there and got her Bachelor of Science degree in 2017. She started with Marriott in 2017, and now she is the supervisor, or she was the supervisor of outlets and bars at the Westin Hilton Head Resort, and now is actually the manager of restaurants and bars as of March 2019, and currently holds this position. So welcome, JaRonna. And our last panelist today is Kieran Shaw, who anyone who's been around HRTM knows Kiran. He was a graduate with us way back when, and actually he worked as an adjunct instructor with us. When I got here in 2009, he was working with us as an adjunct instructor. So he's an experienced hotel performance director with 20 years in the hospitality industry. He's skilled in team building, management, strategic planning, pre-opening construction, and labor cost management. He's originally from West London, which you'll notice his accent. He doesn't have a South Carolina accent, and he moved with his family to South Carolina to start an IHG franchise property. He's currently in Plano, Texas, a North Dallas suburb. So welcome, Kiran, and welcome all of us, or all of our panelists, to the forum today. Now, I just want to quickly mention, save the date, April 20th, from 3 to 4 p.m. is our Club Management, Hospitality, and Tourism Forum, the last forum of this academic year. So welcome to everybody. We'll see you all in April, and I'm going to pass the hosting duties on to our outstanding host, Sporty Jeralds. Sporty, take it away.
All right. Well, thank you, Robin, and certainly thank you to Georgia Patricis, who has put this on, coordinated all of this. Tina Weaver, who I know taught a couple of our panelists today. Tina's taught everybody, I think, over the years, as well as Brian Wardell and her team for our marketing department. So on behalf of Dr. Brown, our dean, I want to just welcome everybody, our audience, our alumni, our students, faculty, our industry partners that are here today. I want to start out, and the great thing about I feel like hosting these is I get a chance to speak with our panelists before the actual gig, so to speak. And I had a chance to connect with everyone, and we sent them some questions, but I have some questions as well based on my conversations with them. So we've kind of heard the first question that we have, we sort of heard Robin did a great job of your bio and how you got to where you're at. But I want from a perspective of being a minority in the hospitality industry, can you share some of those challenges and maybe barriers that you had getting to the place that you are in our industry? And I want to start out with JaRonna today. She shared with me that today is her birthday, so we got to let the birthday girl go first. So JaRonna, if you would, how have you been able to get to where you're at? Some of those things that were challenging for you to get to where you're at with us.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for having me. I started my career with Marriott in 2017, and it was through USC, and it was a hospitality internship. But for me, being in the industry in 2017, everyone that I interviewed with was all males. So I think the hardest part for me was trying to find someone that was like me, or someone that had likely growing up like I did, in order to motivate me and mentor me to get to the position I am in today. However, it was very hard finding someone that was able to actually mentor me. So I had to go to the males of the industry and basically watch after them, ask them for help, and get them to train me and help me understand the industry, because there was no females. And today there's still not that many females that we have in the industry that we can actually look up to and call on for support.
Passion, I'll let you answer that question next.
Thank you so much. Really just to echo everything that JaRonna said, within this industry, especially being in clubs, it is a white male dominated industry, and the mirroring effect says that people believe they can be what they see. And it's really hard to envision yourself in a space where you don't see anyone who looks like you. And so that is, and has been, and continues to be the biggest challenge, not only within clubs, but also in hospitality in general. And so that's why I think that it's so important to have forums such as these, and to give us the exposure and to put the spotlight on us, so that other individuals who are coming up, who are in school and are looking to aspire to these roles, can see individuals who look like themselves and know that, hey, it's possible for us, it's also possible for you.
Thomas, your thoughts on that?
Sure. You know, and it's all the same message, I think, that will be clear here today. With me, you know, it started in college, actually. You know, I didn't see professors that looked like me. I was the only African-American male or African-American person in my graduating class, and this was in 2000. And even, you know, I got my job with Marriott 6 months before I graduated, which I encourage, you know, everyone, if you want to get a head start, to start interviewing, to start doing the internships. But even with the internships, you have to be very selective, because, you know, hotels, they get in this thing where they put all of their interns in the laundry or in the health club or in, you know, things that not necessarily when you're in college that you aspire to you know, to achieve, or the place where you want to be. And I really had to fight for that, and, you know, leave an internship because of that. But more so, even going into what the industry, I knew I wanted to be in sales and marketing. And as someone mentioned earlier, I mean, corporate America, you know, unfortunately, I mean, the face of corporate America is a white male, and even more so in sales and marketing. You know, when I started this journey, I would see people that looked like me, but they were more so in the operations field, not necessarily sales and marketing. And, you know, doing the operations for a few years, it took me 20 interviews to get into sales within the same company. So that's kind of have been my journey through trial and error, and just really pushing myself, and even getting in the organization, finding people on a corporate level or in sales marketing that look like me, or that can relate to not only being an African-American, but an African-American male.
Kiran, you can finish this up on this question.
Thanks, Sporty. So just as Thomas mentioned, also, I think that it's definitely it's not all bright lights and glossy, shiny items when we get out into the workplace. And those first few jobs that we get in college are definitely very, very important. But that does sometimes those experiences help shape us as we grow up into more responsible adults. All right. So I still remember back in the day when working the front desk, weekends in college during HRTM school, weekends when the dishwasher didn't show up, and then I had to go back there and run the dishwasher line. And not so glamorous, or running the dishwashing station during when we opened McCutcheon House back in 2002, 2003, I think. But definitely, there's always opportunity for more diversity in the workplace, especially in the hospitality industry. And I think we all must be cognizant of how we are being perceived and our behavior and the manner in which we conduct ourselves and hold ourselves. To ensure that we earn respect and that we're respected well in the workplace.
Great answer, Kiran. I'm gonna stay with you, and this is one of those questions that I just developed after having spoken with you. I know that the pandemic has altered your life a little bit, but you have been able to pivot and are making the best of it, learning new skills. Can you just talk about how you have embraced these new opportunities and the impact of continuing to learn? We have to continue to get better all the time. So can you share a little bit about what you're doing now and how you've had to reframe your life?
So thank you. Effectively, last year, obviously March 2020, during the kind of the beginning of the pandemic, I'm based in Dallas, but I was holding a regional position last 5 or 6 years with Hilton corporate. So Hilton obviously franchises hotels, but we also have a management arm. On the management arm, I was basically involved covering the Midwest hotels for Hilton, everything pretty much from about 300 rooms to 2,000 rooms across the Midwest market. And during that sort of March timeframe, obviously I was basically in communication with general managers and directors of finance to help downsize, and we pretty much furloughed anywhere from 60 to 80% of management and hourly employees across the company. And as the months sort of went on, we can kind of see that things weren't really progressing in the hotel industry. And I kind of saw the writing on the wall that I think I'm about to get axed here soon. So I had gone out on furlough just briefly around April, May time. And as soon as I went out on furlough, I went ahead and took about 4 or 5 weeks, but I got my real estate license and jumped in and started practicing real estate. So I've been doing residential real estate here for the last year or so. And it's actually been working out pretty good, because obviously the housing market's obviously booming right now. So using this as use it as a pivot point to sort of sidestep into a different industry and sort of jump on that. And my role at Hilton was pretty much, it was a productivity sort of oriented role. So we were basically looking at the financial analytics and seeing how we would benchmark departments in different hotels, different sizes, and seeing how certain hotels excelled on the labor management perspective than others. I took those skill sets, and myself and 2 of my friends, we set up a small company and landed a little contract here in Dallas with a local company. So I was able to set up a small company and basically pivot into real estate. And those 2 sort of helped me propel, I guess, for the time being, and push forward and keep fighting until the industry sort of, pops back up. The big box industry is likely to take another 2 years or so before things sort of rebound. So.
Great. Thanks so much. Any of our other panelists, you guys have been able to sort of maintain in your properties, any ideas or thoughts on how you have continued to grow and have to get better all the time in the jobs that you have? JaRonna, you want to answer that?
For me, so I was furloughed for about 30 days in March of 2020. So for about 30 days, I returned in May. For me, we were severely understaffed, and our hotel actually had to put a cap on the guests, but we were one of the top 10 busiest hotels in North America throughout the entire pandemic. So for me, it was kind of just being out of the office and being a support staff to my team on and on the floor, because we were understaffed compared to the amount of guests that we had in house. So for me, it was just continuing to push and motivate my team through various outings, give backs, and things of that sort. But for the most part, it's pretty much just supporting your team, making sure that they know that you're here. If they need any additional breaks or if they need time off of work, that you will do your best to get them that time that they're needed.
Thomas, you have any thoughts on that?
Sure. Well, for me, 2 weeks into the pandemic is when I first started this new role. So I'm over 24 hotels in 3 different time zones. So it was very challenging for me. And, you know, I had to just take the risk and travel early because I was over a portfolio of hotels that I had never visited before. And so to stay on top of my game and to, you know, be there on the front line with our associates, you know, being able to go to a hotel, even though I'm responsible for sales and marketing, but all of my directors of sales were working the front desk and housekeeping. So being able to be flexible, jump on a plane, go to Miami, go to New Jersey, and, you know, spend the day with these folks, whether we're checking in folks, cleaning a room, folding laundry, you know, you never, you know, above any of that. You always have to go back to where you started from. So, you know, for me, it was just going back to the basics.
Passion?
Absolutely. So I think the biggest thing is pivot and adaptability. That's what most of us learned, all of us learned and had to do throughout the pandemic. We were very fortunate on the club side of things, especially at my club, in that we thrived during the pandemic with almost 1,000 employees. We were so blessed that we didn't have to furlough or lay anyone off, and were able to net almost 70 members last year. We gained 150, netted about 70, which traditionally in clubs, if you gain 1 member a month, you're thriving. And so just to put that in perspective to just how busy we actually were. And, you know, regardless of what industry you're in, the hardest thing that we as leaders can get our teams to do is adapt to change. And the fact that we had so many changes coming down the pipeline and we had to continuously pivot and change and pivot and change, I think truly showed our team and as well as us as leaders, just what we're all capable of. And so with that, I think that that's something that we learned and that we'll keep is as long as we are in this industry and as leaders, is something that we'll continue to do.
Passion, I want to stay with you for a moment. And you're from my hometown. I'm glad we were able to connect. Fayetteville, North Carolina, and shout out to HBCUs, went to Fayetteville State University, where my daughter is an alumni of that university. So great to have you here. But you talked about, and something, part of my story is that I had an older white gentleman who embraced me, took me under his wing and mentored me. And that was one of the things that resonated with me with your conversation, is that you said you met a heartfelt leader and you were inspired by him. Can you speak a little bit about the role of mentors in minorities advancing? And I heard a conversation yesterday, which was very interesting, where a young lady said, we need sponsors. So maybe a mentor is an external person, but you need someone in the organization too that believes in you and can say, you know, Passion's ready for this, or Thomas is, you know, he would be ideal for this role. So can you speak a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So when I began my career in clubs in 2014, I started at Charlotte Country Club and actually was not interested in taking the path of clubs, but knew I wanted to be in the hospitality industry. We toured clubs in and around the Charlotte region, and once we went into the Charlotte Country Club and were given the tour as well as the presentation from Damon DiOrio, I knew that I wanted to be in that type of environment, and more so that I wanted to work for that gentleman. It was just the way that he did inspire. And he knew us all by name, and we were students that were visiting. And I thought that was so impressive to me. And so I hand delivered my resume and began my career there. But I had to start at the bottom, regardless of the fact that I was an entrepreneur and had experience managing. I had never worked in clubs. And what I learned was that was also Mr. Diorio's path. He was, currently in the role of CEO, but he started as a server and literally worked his way up. And 6 months into my job, my role there, I had a meeting with him. And I remember in that meeting, letting him know what my plans and my goals and my desires were, that I was very driven. And I wanted to have him connect me with a Black woman in the industry. And at that time, in 2014, he was the national president of Club Managers Association of America and could not connect me with anyone. And he did give me some words that actually stuck with me and some advice. And what he told me was that everyone else is going to look at me and see a Black woman. The last thing that he recommended me to do was to put that label on myself, for me to just strive to become the best club professional that I could, not the best woman or the best, individual or person of color within the industry. And that's something that I truly resonated with me and that I carry with me throughout, my career. Mr. Diorio is a very influential person within this industry. And so one thing that I always say is, coming out of school, don't chase the job or the title or the money for that matter. Find someone that you can align yourself with that not only has influence, but is a heart-led leader, someone who is going to pour into you and going to challenge you to be the best that you can be, understanding that every single day is an interview, right? Like, regardless of whether you're in your dream job or still aspiring, you never know who you're going to meet, whose path's going to cross, who knows who. And so understanding that you got to approach every day and every interaction like you're on interview, like you're on stage, right? Which is what we do every single day.
That was brilliant, Passion.
Oh, well, thanks.
I saw you shaking your head. You want to add anything to that?
No, she hit it on the head. She's exactly right. We need to be extremely cognizant of our behavior, extremely cognizant that we are really being interviewed and we're being watched and people are judging us all the time. And we must learn from this that and right now people, I'm seeing lots of questions popping up in the chat. I think it's fantastic. Please keep them coming in. I think we all need to really take the pandemic as an opportunity even on the hiring front to walk into a building and sort of just say, hey, listen, do you know what? I just graduated, not sure if I've really got any experience to offer you, but what I do have is an attitude that's going to sell. And I'm going to deliver something that's going to be extremely valuable to you. And I will be everything that you want me to be if you just give me an opportunity right now. Because that's really what it's about, right? We just have to take our degrees and we've earned our stripes now. And, the real world can be an ugly place at times. And we really have to take the pandemic as an opportunity to really, it's a challenge, but you can rise above it and you can take yourself to another level if you really, really push and challenge yourself. Thank you, Sporty.
Well, Passion, her name is on the resume and you can tell with her energy, she has that passion. It gets to her, it gets to you before she does. The energy she brings. We walk into our destiny, and that was a great name for her. Thomas, I know you were challenged because you didn't see a lot of people that looked like you as you were trying to particularly get into that sales and marketing space that you wanted to get into. Did you have you had some mentors throughout your career though that have helped you get to where you are now?
Yes, eventually, yes, as I got further into my career, and what I did, even when I was on the front desk, I saw the salespeople entertaining clients and customers and taking them out to lunch. And I'm like, okay, that's me. And the sales department is always downstairs. I used to get in trouble because I was always in the basement with the sales department, just trying to understand, how it worked down there and how it came to where I played a part in it as being a front desk manager and just, hanging out there, anything from going to banquets to helping plating up food to see how a function is operated. Just being very flexible and putting it out there that, hey, I want to learn. This is where I want to be. I want to be where you're at. And I think when you come with that type of attitude, people, and especially in higher positions, they want to hire people who wants to be in their position one day. So, you know, just being very determined. And like I said, I applied for 20 sales positions and never, you know, never get discouraged, because it wasn't meant to be. And when it was for me, it was for me.
JaRonna, you have anything to add?
I just want to add that adaptability and flexibility is key. Willing to learn is also key. And like Passion said, don't look at the title and don't look at the money right out of college, because that will all come once you gain the experience that you need under your belt. So we, as the younger generation, we have to realize, like, we won't be able to jump into a director role right out of college with no experience and expect to get the $50,000, $60,000 salary. We have to take a step back and work our way up the ladder, and eventually we'll get to the point where we want to be if we're determined to get there.
Kiran, you were an adjunct faculty member. Shout out to adjuncts. That's how I started in this business. But we have a question in the chat here, and it says, what can we as faculty members do to help our students be prepared to lead a diverse workforce, especially when they're at such a young age? It might be, I guess, you know, supervising people that are older than them, that have been, you know, in those organizations for a longer period of time.
Let's see now, as faculty members, I mean, I think that, I think we just have to make sure that we're not building walls around us. You know, I think that nowadays, I mean, obviously the student in general has changed a lot since I was in college, obviously, right? It's been 20 years, right? 21 years, whoops. And so things have changed a lot, but I think just more importantly, you know, just having an open mind. You know, we've got to keep an open mind right now. And I think all this stuff in the media right now, it really does kind of damaging effects, I think, on young minds, and can obviously deter people in, you know, profound ways that, you know, unintended consequences, I guess. But I think just we've got to make sure that everyone's coming out of the workplace with an open mind, right? Got to keep an open mind and have all avenues open. Don't be just zero focused in one particular direction, especially when you're graduating in this environment, especially right now. So.
Thomas, I know, and one of the other questions we had relates to, and I know you, when we chatted yesterday, you said that you were proud that your company was doing some things around diversity. Can you share some of the initiatives that you guys have with your company?
Sure, absolutely. And, you know, and at first, you know, a bit of advice to everyone too, as well. When you're looking for a company, you know, choose a company that has a diversity and inclusion program. You know, like with my company, Aimbridge, we have a committee of 12 that meets monthly to discuss the diversity and inclusion issues. They do a newsletter each month. And I always, you know, tell people too as well, you know, once you're hired, get on those committees, because no one can tell your story like you can tell your story, if you know what I'm coming from. And, you know, you always want to be there and showing that, okay, this is what I'm about, and this is what my culture is about. Or, you know, sometimes it's always good to have a set of eyes, because, you know, and you learn from all, you know, I don't, you know, typically like to say minorities, but people of color in general. But, and what I like that my company is doing now is actually something that I had always thought of, but didn't realize that they're starting to recruit specifically at African-American universities. And so I was glad to see that as well. Some of the universities and colleges that they're recruiting is St. Philip's in San Antonio, Wiley College, Howard University, Hampton, and Morgan State. So, you know, like I said, align yourself with a company that understand that there's a need for diversity and inclusion, and has some action items in plan or in action that actually, you know, they always say, you know, put your money where your mouth is.
I would just like to add also that Aimbridge currently is the world's largest hotel management company since their recent merger, and are doing extremely well. So they do have lots of opportunities out there.
Absolutely.
Do you have anything that Desert Mountain Club is doing around diversity?
Yes, absolutely. So part of the onboarding process is learning not only about, the culture and as well as our service standards, but about diversity, equity, and inclusion, because that is a key point, and it's really big here. So our motto is that we are a family serving a family, and family comes in all different shades and backgrounds, and so understanding the culture that they are going to be coming into. And even before that, it's part of the vetting process, and because we want to bring on individuals who are like-minded. I know earlier someone had brought up about personality and attitude. I think it was Kiran, and that's something that we definitely look to hire for, because as far as the skills, I'm comfortable in my ability to train you to serve from the left and clear from the right, but I can't train you to be compassionate. I can't train you to be open-minded. I can't train you in those things. And so with that, we want you to come to the table with that, and if we are intentional with that, then we'll continue to cultivate the culture that is organically inclusive and organically, diverse. And with us being in hospitality, diversity, like, it's just the right thing to do. And it also brings more of a competitive advantage to the marketplace. So from a business standpoint, it makes sense to be diverse. And so I am so happy that this is something, although it breaks my heart, the things that had to take place in our world for it to become to the forefront, I'm so happy to be living in a time where it is. And I'm so hopeful for the progress that we are making and where we're going.
That's such a good point, Passion. And we are starting to get some requests from employers. I know I've gotten a couple in the job that I'm in who want minority, for internships and potential jobs. And so there's a great awareness that companies can do better. I do challenge people, though. I say, as you say, make sure you understand the culture of the company, because we all know as minorities, we don't want people just to sort of be there for the photo opportunity and look, we've hired this person, but if we go back to, some of those other areas of the hotels and clubs that people are working in, and they see colleagues of theirs not being treated fairly, it can be very frustrating. So, JaRonna, I wanted to go to you for a moment. I know you have always been challenged, you seemed, in finding women to relate to and have as mentors. Is your company doing anything? And I know when we talked, you said you thought that sometimes the perception was that, hey, this is a 365, 24/7, operation that we have. And you thought that sometimes males just sort of said, hey, well, she's got a family or she has kids, and we don't think she want to work on the weekends, just not even really going and asking you those types of questions. Or has your company with minorities or women, have they done anything, or can you see anything that's different here lately that you're encouraging?
Oh, well, lately, after our former CEO Arnie passed, what Marriott did was they donated millions to Howard University, which is a HBCU, to include diversity in their hospitality program. And they're also looking to be more focused with HBCUs in order to bring minorities to the company, and to start an internship program where minorities are in the front of it, and we can develop more females and more males in the minority field, so that we have someone, or that the new ones have someone to actually call on or be able to talk to and chat with about future opportunities with the company. So they're slowly starting, but it's a sign in the right direction. So that's all we're hoping for at the moment.
Let's see here. I want to go to a couple of other questions from our audience here. Adrian said, with the current financial assistance by the government at the moment, what is the current outlook for the hospitality industry 5 years from now in terms of risk management and potential economic decline as the real numbers start to kick in around that time. Kiran, I know you're a numbers guy, analytics guy. I'll tee that one up for you.
I think things just need to get up to speed here. I think just as we get through this next few months with the rollout, like I said, I think it's going to be another couple of years. As I mentioned, I think that the big box environment, JaRonna, how many rooms is the Westin Hilton Head?
So we currently have 416 rooms.
416. So again, that's a large convention group hotel, really. That again, they're typically, if I remember correctly, actually, if everyone gets a chance to visit JaRonna at that property, is absolutely stunning. You need a boat to get over there. I'd invite. Sorry, hope you don't mind. I'm just telling everyone to go and visit you. But
thank you.
It's a stunning hotel, actually. No, I think it's going to be another few years until the economy sort of starts getting to rev back up. Obviously, I think people are just raring to go. I think the most recent data from Smith Travel Research I just read here recently stated that obviously weekends are starting to peak as sort of spring break kicks on. Obviously, people are obviously happy that the stats on occupancies are going up, and on the other side, the CDC is probably frowning a little bit, on travel. But obviously, we're just very much revved up and excited, to see the numbers going up, because we do need to see people traveling again. And I think there's still a lot of kind of misunderstandings and misnomers about the coronavirus, and due to misinformation sort of being spread through these different channels. But I think, again, it's going to take at least 2 years. I don't think that people are going to be traveling like the way they used to. I think we've now sort of adjusted to this new quote unquote Zoom work from home mentality. Obviously, with the hotel environment, we don't have work from home exactly jobs, but and it's a people facing business. We're going to be out there on the floor. So, but again, I think it's going to take a few years. I'm not sure about 5 years, but I think, I think this year we'll definitely see some leaps and bounds in occupancy, especially in the transient markets, especially transient markets. Last summer, even during coronavirus, was still pretty impressive year over year. I think they still exceeded goals, but obviously some of the inner city market, corporate business travel obviously was the most affected. So I think Thomas could probably comment on this.
Yeah, and I can add, we tend to look at the New York market as the driving force for all of this. And, I had a discussion last week with one of my colleagues. Initially they said that New York was going to reach 2019 numbers, I think maybe 2024. Now they're saying 2026. So that's just an attest to, to show how long it will take us to recover. We mentioned, the leisure markets. I've had hotels in Florida. I had 2 hotels in Florida, one in Miami and Fort Lauderdale, both sold out this past weekend. And we had to increase our forecast almost $1 million for those hotels, only due to the fact of the government with the stimulus package, of course. And, but it's like a double-edged sword with that stimulus package and with the extra money for unemployment. Hotels are being hit hard because that's sometimes more than what a typical housekeeper would make. And so right now we're at high occupancies back to pre-COVID, but staffing level is down, because of those very reasons. But definitely the leisure market has picked up. I think the last segment that will recover will be the negotiated segment, because most corporations, the top 500, the Fortune 500 companies, they're still mostly on travel restrictions.
Yes, and just to piggyback off for Thomas, if I may. So occupancy has picked up. Last weekend at my hotel, we were flipping 200, bringing in 200 every night. My GM was actually in the rooms, flipping room and cleaning, because the occupancy is climbing so fast. We don't have the staff, like Thomas mentioned. The stimulus checks and the government assistance is keeping a lot of people home because it's more money, less stress than what they are seeing daily in the industry.
Passion, you guys have been just rolling. Is it going to just keep going like it's going and get even bigger for you?
Absolutely. And I will say, so working in this sector of hospitality, we kind of liken it to being recession proof, because the top 1% of wealth in the world, they're going to continue to live their lives the way that they want to live them. And so with that, you know, we're going to always be employed, because they're going to, again, want the things that they want and the amenities and the experiences. And so we're going to continue to be here to provide them for them. Now, for the first time in the history of Desert Mountain, we've actually done a membership cap to where we can't allow any more members in, just because we're maxed out. We're maxed out with 7 golf courses, 7 clubhouses, 10 food and beverage restaurants, over 4,000 homes. Everything is sold out. Everything is sold out. So it's a good problem to have. We're very blessed.
We're going to have one of the Dean's lecture next week, and one of those gentlemen on there is going to be Al Hutchinson, who is the CEO from Visit Baltimore. And so one of the questions we have is, you guys, I know partners in your efforts are the CVBs in respective communities. What can they do anything better to educate people on inclusivity, to help you guys be and, you know, sell your properties better? Thomas, I'll ask you that. The Convention and Visitors Bureaus, do you work with them at all?
Yes, absolutely. We do work with the convention, the CVBs. Yeah. Now, what was the question again?
Well, the question as it came in was your advice for CVBs looking to encourage and educate the industry with regard to inclusion. Charleston has many initiatives in place. However, I'm curious as to ideas we may not have considered. So that comes from Laurie Lynn Smith.
Well, you know, with the CVBs, especially working in the convention market, you know, as far as like, you know, minorities, African-American, you know, like when you think of African-American sororities and fraternities, these are big citywide conventions. And just in June, we have the Deltas here in Atlanta, which they sell out, they're gonna sell out the entire city. So, you know, just working together with hotels on being able to service those type of groups. You think of the big religious organizations, the Baptists, you know, Baptists can be, these are huge organizations. And I remember my early, you know, years in sales, you know, I had a group, a Baptist group when I was in DC that would not come to the hotel unless we had sweet tea. And so in the North, you know, they don't have sweet tea. So these are the type of things that, you know, when you're working with the CVB, in order for everybody to be a win-win situation, that we're giving the same message, especially when we're catering to minorities, people of color, of these associations and organizations that come and spend money in our cities.
Passion, you got sweet tea out there in the desert?
So, you know, I had to laugh because I didn't realize that sweet tea was not a thing out here. So my first day working, I definitely made a pot of sweet tea and took it to a table and like, what is this?
So you know what I mean.
Or a hero. How would they even make tea without making it sweet? That's the craziest notion I've heard in my life.
Exactly.
Yeah. Anybody else want to just chime in on that with the CVB question? I think Thomas did a great job of answering that. We got just about 15 minutes left. I think we all can agree that we can do much better as it relates to minorities in hospitality. So I want to start with JaRonna, with you, and just ask, what are some things that you know can be done that maybe don't cost a lot of money, some things that you have seen other places do, maybe even not in the hospitality industry, but what can we do to make our hotels and all of our hospitality types of venues more diverse and more inclusive?
I think if we come out of our comfort zone and go to the smaller HBCUs or community college and kind of explain what the hospitality industry is and how it's not all about how we can have the minorities come in and work their way up the ladder, but we also as minorities have to realize that not everything is going to be given to us. You have to work for it. You have to be able and be adaptable and willing to learn and work your way up. Nothing is ever going to be free. So my advice is just to be driven, be determined, and willing to learn. Whether you want to be in the catering department, you may need to learn front desk, you may need to learn events, you may need to learn the restaurant in order to be a better salesperson in the catering and sales department. So you have to be willing to work in different areas in order to build your resume to be able to get to the dream job that you want.
That's a great point. We're having some discussions with some hospitality partners, and that's one of the things I mentioned is we do want to expose our, our students to all areas, for instance, of the hotel, so that they can see maybe what is their space where they would, really enjoy working. So Thomas, you talked a little bit about it already, but I'll give you an opportunity again to just share some of your thoughts on some of those best practices and maybe some things that we can do better with diversity and inclusion.
Well, of course, first, when it's on the collegiate level, I put it on the schools to make that effort to have a diverse staff, to have diverse professors. As I, in our conversation, I stated people tend to gravitate to careers that they see people who look like them. And once, I didn't have that. So I'm very adamant about that. And me and Robin, Dr. Peter, we both, on the advisory board, these are some of the things that, that we discuss. And even when it goes to curriculum, just make sure that when we're doing curriculum that, it is inclusive. And, and the thing is, we tend to spend a lot of time on a diversity portion, but not enough on the inclusion. It just doesn't include African Americans. It includes the LGBTQ community. It includes, different religions, Muslims, even Jews, even atheists. I've even dealt with that, working for a company who was a faith-based company. So just, looking at all of that and just being cognizant and making sure that everyone is represented.
That's a great answer. And we're going to continue to try to encourage our faculty, Thomas, to use resources like you guys, all of you. I know you'd be willing to speak to classes. We found this new technology through Zoom, so you don't have to necessarily come to campus, but you would be great speakers and inspire our students to do what they need to do. Kiran, I'll let you answer that question next.
So, I've got a bit of a story just to kind of piggyback on Thomas, but actually when I was an adjunct instructor at University of South Carolina, there was a textbook that was sort of handed down to me to use in the classroom, check in and check out. And I think the professors are both from actually University of Arizona, I believe. But there was actually a statement in the textbook I remember reading that I sort of didn't sort of agree with. And actually it was surrounding minorities, different hotel associations. I think one of them was Asian American Hotel Owners Association. I think it was also the African American, Black American Hotel Owners Association as well. There were some statements written in the textbook that I really didn't quite agree with. And Prentice Hall had contacted me and they said, "Are you renewing your subscription for the textbook for the bookstore?" And I said, "No, I'm not renewing it, because I feel like there was a statement in there that I wasn't 100% happy with. And I feel like it shouldn't really be handed out to 200 students to be used." But I ended up getting a call from the author, and I was able to get those paragraphs updated in the next release of that textbook to sort of have the statement a bit more correctly reflect the current situation with those minority organizations. But I think it's important to sort of make sure that we understand what we're reading and what we're teaching and what we're preaching, right? But a little bit of my experience with that. But thank you.
That's a great story, and we know as minorities we need advocates. So that whole, if you see something, say something. We normally relate that to security. But I think it's appropriate here, Kiran, that you spoke up and got it changed. And it was something obviously that needed to be changed to be more inclusive. So thanks for sharing that story with us. Passion, do you have anything in terms, you mentioned onboarding? That was one of the questions. And I think, quite frankly, we don't do a good enough job overall, not just with minorities, but sometimes onboarding is, here's your desk and the coffee room is, down on the left, and that's your orientation, everything, So can you talk a little bit about how important that process is and some of those other practices you've seen at work and can make our places more diverse and inclusive?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, so I read a book called One Word, and it's about goal setting and how the best way to set goals, be it for a week, the quarter, for the year, and using that one word and taking that one word approach and applying it to every different aspect of your life and goal setting. And my one word for this year is intentional. And I think that if we collectively take an intentional approach to this, that's the way that we can move forward. So whether it's students being intentional, to JaRonna's point, of seeking out opportunity and being open to the opportunities that are given, and understanding that everything is not necessarily going to be a ladder, but sometimes it's going to be a lattice. So sometimes you might have to take a lateral move in order to get to where you need to be. If as industry professionals, we can be intentional about reaching out to Thomas and JaRonna's point about going to HBCUs and understanding that, yeah, I'm not just going to pick you because you're a woman or you're a person of color, but you're someone who has sought out those initiatives and been intentional about what you wanted to do and how you wanted to move forward. And then if we as a community, as a hospitality industry, are intentional about opening up our minds as well as our hearts and being compassionate to everyone and the different experiences that they have and that they bring to the table, that's how we're going to move forward. So I think intentionality is just the biggest piece of it.
Great, great. Well, my wife made me read that book, and my one word is passion.
All right now.
Just kidding. She read the book. I haven't read the book yet, Passion, but well, we started with the birthday girl, and I want to end with the birthday girl. We got about 6 or 7 minutes, so I'll give, often when we do these, I know I've often said, man, I should have said this, so I'll give each one of you a couple of minutes to just finish us up with some closing thoughts or some words of inspiration for everyone in the audience today. So JaRonna, please start us off.
So my word of encouragement is just to be open. Don't see tunnel vision. Just be open to different things, be open to different opportunities, but just remember the end goal in mind. Sometimes, like Passion said, we have to take lateral moves in our career just to get back to where we want it to be. It's okay. We just have to remember that end goal is our end goal. How we get there is all up to us. No one can stop us. No one can put anything in our way. As long as we have that drive to get to the end goal, it's all that matters.
Great. Passion, I'll let you go next.
I always like to start and end with gratitude. So my biggest thing is thank you so much for, giving us this platform and allowing us to be seen and heard, and allowing us to know that our voices and our viewpoints and our perspectives matter. And I want you all to know that your viewpoints and your perspectives also matter. So I'm just going to end with gratitude and say thank you.
Kiran, you talked about the way we represent ourselves each and every day. So will you take it from there?
Yep. I just want to, we just have to be, again, very cognizant of how we are and how we behave in the workplace and what we represent. Not only are you a graduate of University of South Carolina and you're holding a degree in your hand that says you have a bachelor's or a master's, but that's not, the be all and end all, right? You have to complement that with, spirit, purpose, and attitude. So, take it to the next level and represent not only your faith and your culture well, but, the side pieces that go along with that. So let's not forget that. So, but big shout out to all the faculty here. Great to see everyone here. And see Dr. Gustafson here. I was just commenting, I wish Dr. Strick was here as well. She was another wonderful professor. Thomas, you probably remember her from back in the day.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. So really, it's a great group of people. And obviously Tina Weaver is always wonderful. As always, just wonderful for bringing all of us together. So big thank you again to Sporty Jeralds as well for moderating. So thank you.
My pleasure. Thomas, I'll let you finish this up, my friend.
Sure. 2 thoughts. You know, your first impressions are lasting impressions. You know, you're always on, as someone mentioned. So always put your best foot forward and hire an attitude and teach them the business.
That amplifies basically what Passion says. She can, what is it, pass to the left and step to the right, or what was it, Passion? I'm not a hospitality guy, so thank you guys so much for being here. I'm inspired. Dr. DePietro, I'll turn it back over to you for some closing thoughts.
Yeah, I just want to thank you, Sporty, for doing such a great job of coming up with great and engaging questions for our panelists. And I really want to thank our panelists for taking the time today to be here and share your insights. And it's great how many people put comments up on the chat. And so hopefully, if we didn't get your questions answered, please send me an email and I will make sure that the panelists get that. But yes, thank you to everybody. And I feel optimistic about where we're going, not just in this program, in this college, but also I feel optimistic about where we can go in the world and in the US. And I feel like you guys are going to be game changers, and I hope we can all step up and do the right thing. So thank you to all of you. Appreciate your time. And we'll see everybody in April 20th.
Thank you, everyone.
Take care.
Thank you for having